when it comes to my practice, we've always just bootstrapped it because there's like, I think where I see dietitians, like, because from a system standpoint, like things don't need to be expensive. And I always struggle kind of with like setting up scholarship funds for new dietitians in private practices, or like, where should I support dietitians most? But what I always really struggle with when I come back to that is the startup costs for dietitians and systems in the beginning should be fairly low, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody's overspending, then like we probably have a problem there, right?
I do want to circle back to like, those people that maybe are in the sports space, right? Clinicians in the sports space. I know we kind of talked about already, like why those myths are out there and things like that. But can you touch on maybe, some of the things that would fall under their scope that can be billable when it comes to insurance?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I first started my career, I started in eating disorders, and that was very short-lived, meaning like I wanted to stick needles in my eyes. And so I'd spent like 3 years like validating a screening tool. So it was like I was very vested. And then I started like practicing like real clinical, and I was like, yeah, like F this noise, like I'm out of here. And so I did eating disorders for as long as I had to, meaning like carry my load. And then I transitioned, very hard into sport nutrition. And so that's kind of just like what was natural for me. And so at the time, I think I had joined like a CrossFit. And so like I volunteered for a challenge, like not telling anybody that I was like a dietitian. I was just like, I was very intimidated, like, you know what I mean? Like, especially more so by the women than I wasn't really ever fearful of the man, but I just wanted to join to like level the playing field, make more people, I was just very like intimidated. And so I joined a challenge, and like, somehow like they were like, oh, like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I'm a registered dietitian. Like my practice is like right down the road. Da, 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 da. It's like, so it's like, long story short, it's like somehow, somewhere, like the gym where I trained was like the owner like did a ton of, he did a ton of programming for like a lot of the CrossFit Games athletes. And so long story short, like my sport nutrition practice in an insurance-based practice was born basically out of a free challenge I volunteered for that ended up probably paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in insurance-based visits because, you know what I mean? It was just like, and it was like a very like naive, like, it wasn't like, I would now tell dietitians, like, be intentional, like volunteer for challenges. But it was like very like, I just want to get involved. Like, I'm like super intimidated. Like, you know what I mean? It was more about my insecurities. It wasn't like I was confident to promote my practice, but, I got really plugged in, into that kind of space. And then I did metabolism testing at the time. And so I was able to tease out metabolism testing at 100 offer that into the sport nutrition platform, and then parlay that into an insurance-based visit, right? So if you come in for metabolism testing, I'd bill your insurance, and probably like the bare minimum I make $150. Then we would do interpretation, so that was like a $300 an hour just for like a sport nutrition consult. And so, with insurance companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield, where they have like a healthy eating, like most of those patients get unlimited visits. And it's like, obviously like it's debatable, like relative to sizable athletes, right? But if a athlete qualifies based on BMI, which we know just they just it might be falsely elevated, you're elevated and then they carry a lot of muscle, right? They get unlimited visits. And so I never personally found, so I did sport nutrition pretty, probably from like 2010 probably right into COVID. Like that's kind of when I backed out in terms of CrossFit and stuff. And that really like drove my practice because it was athletes, but then it was recreational athletes. I'm not just talking about, I say games athletes, but like that wasn't the majority of people I was working with. I was working with like, weekend warriors, you know what I mean? And then I'm sure that you guys see like, once you demonstrate like, you're good at your job, then like they send their whole family, right?
Bingo.
Yep.
I also got very plugged into like one of the people I was training with, like in my class, was like there was a lot of firefighters, right? And so then they asked me if I would come do talks for the firefighters and New Haven Police Department. And so, like, all of them had insurance, right? And so, like I did one free talk, I remember like one Friday afternoon, and I was able to get like 20 or $30,000 worth of business, all insurance based, because I saw like that whole fire department. And then I saw like their kids and their wives. And so, and a lot of those people trying to qualify to become a firefighter, right? Like they have to optimize their
They
performance.
have to
Sure.
optimize
You know
it.
what I mean? So it's like a no-brainer for them to work with you, and it's covered by insurance. So
Mhm.
I can really speak to like the sports performance side because it's what I did, probably for the majority of my insurance-based career. I mean, I stopped seeing patients. I still have like 3 or 4 patients I see. But I really stopped probably like in 2020. But like the sports performance market was what probably like really like threw my practice into peak in terms of just
Sure.
like financial numbers. But no, I've never really had an issue, in the sports performance realm. And that's kind of where like I've always felt most comfortable. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the fact that you spoke to not just what a lot of performance or sports dietitians feel as though is sports nutrition, especially with where this
Mhm.
niche is evolving into. It does include tactical. It includes, the
Yes.
fittest on
Yeah,
earth, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Yes.
CrossFit community. It encompasses so much more than
Yes.
your team-based sports. And so with all that you said, that is such a great example for people to listen to and hear and actually accept and apply, because you
Yes.
just never know where those opportunities can lead
Oh my
you.
God. And I
Mhm.
think you have to be super open, where I think I was like, I don't know if I was naive or I was just such a hustler that I feel like with our current population of dietitians and other healthcare providers, I think we have this thing, and like we have a chip on our shoulder. And so when somebody asks us to
Hmm.
do something for free, it's like we're not able to see the value in that. And it's like on that Friday afternoon when I did that talk in August for the Milford Fire Department, we had tickets for Peter Gabriel and Sting like at Jones, which is like it's probably on a good day. It was in Long Island, and so I live in Connecticut. On a good day, it's probably like 3 hours. And my husband was like, it was like at 2:30, right? It's like I was at the beckon, and I was just like, and I remember driving to the actual talk and being like, this is such BS, like what I was thinking. And then yeah, it did. It totally took us like 8 hours to get there that night. But the reality was like, had I not said yes to that, you know what I mean? Like and I like and also had I had like the intoxication or the like if I went into that with a negative, I think we were talking a little while
Mhm.
about like passion and conviction. Like I don't understand why anybody says no to free opportunities, because
Mhm.
Yeah.
even if you get one person, right? Like one
That
person,
part.
like Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield pays me 150 for an initial. Like I've already like pre-qualified my time. So
Right.
Yes.
I don't know why dietitians, especially in
Key.
the sports performance realm, like you got to get your name out there. And so it's like if you turn your nose, especially in sports performance, it's like there's so many opportunities. Yes, for us. And I know nobody like, maybe this is like anti-business coach, but I still say yes. I say yes to everything that like lights me up, because not everything is about a financial opportunity. But like Uma was saying,
Hmm.
you never know who's going to be there or who's picking
Right.
up
Mhm.
kids, or like you know what I mean. It is bananas when I think about the things that I said yes to, and it's also equally disturbing. You know,
Right.
like like
Right.
but I think that people like I think for the first 10 years of your career, you have to say yes to every
Mhm.
opportunity and like do not think otherwise, because you will like
Ooh, repeat
yeah,
that.
you
That's
know what I
good.
mean? Like, because
That's
I
good.
did, and I have like zero regrets. You know what I mean? Said yes to like talks at like Rotary clubs, you know what I mean? Like at like 7 o'clock in the morning, like thinking, I remember driving there and I'd be like, it's like you just meeting people and like being kind and thoughtful. It's like those are the types of people that follow up with you. It's like, I
Mhm.
cannot tell you, I don't think I have ever in my entire life, including both free master classes that I've done for dietitians, like I've never in my whole life, I'm 47, I think. I'm 40. Yeah, I think I'm 47, 48, 47 or 8, even though my birthday was a couple months ago, I still never remember. But like I've never done a free opportunity that has not created another opportunity. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know
100%.
what? That's such a testament that goes back to why do you do it, right? Like, what is your
Yeah.
why? Because
Yeah.
if it is like straight financially
Oh,
focused, like you'll
no.
miss so many opportunities. And
Yep.
I mean, even as you mentioned, like I think as taking insurance helps you to say yes to some of these
Oh,
free
absolutely.
talks because it's like,
I
well,
knew, yeah. All the fire department had Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. I knew
exactly.
Exactly.
every single person, sitting in the audience. And I knew they had incredible insurance, so their whole family had it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? State insurance in Connecticut is like, you know what I mean? So it's like, yes, it was somewhat strategic, but I would be lying to you like if I didn't tell you that I loved every second of it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like it's like I love talking about nutrition. You know what I mean? It doesn't even matter that I'm so far removed at this point, but like I just love it and I love helping people. And so what
Bingo.
I think can also like backfire if you show up and you're like miserable because I see this like
Right.
you know what I mean?
Facts.
Like, so yeah, you've got to love what you do, but I think like if you put your heart into it, like they feel it. You know what I mean? Like you have yeah, you have passion, but it's like it's even more than that. It's like I am convinced that anybody in that audience, like I can optimize their health. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I know it, like, you know what I mean? The same way that you guys know it with your athletes. It's like there's no, you don't, it's unwavering, like belief in yourself that's going to be like, that's going to really like increase your bottom line,
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is so good. I can definitely say that there's so many parallels with being involved in the CrossFit community and working with like firemen and women and just the list goes on. And I can say that there has been so many random, unexpected connections that come from those
Sure. Yeah.
experiences.
Hmm.
And even if they just say something as simple as like, hey, I know somebody
Yeah.
that can help you with what you're needing and you're seeking for, whether it be themselves or their kid or
Yeah.
whoever else, that works, that counts too. You know
Or
what I
even
mean?
like
You never
moms
Hmm.
know.
groups. Like think about it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not a mom.
Facts.
But like everybody's like in the moms groups, it's like every single moms group is like, oh, go see the Plano program. Like it's hilarious. But like
Yep.
you know what I mean? It's like they don't discriminate me because I'm not a mom. It's like they refer to my team because we're good at what we do, right? It like precedes
Exactly.
like our reputation precedes like the title, you know what I mean? And so I do really I think does come back to the fact that like you have to be good at what you do though. And I think
Yes.
I think we do miss that in the sports performance arena that I'm not even saying imposter syndrome. I just think at least in our space, as somebody who's been a sports dietitian before it was really a thing. Yeah, I do think there is some dietitians providing performance nutrition and just optimization. That's like some people are like out to lunch, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like somebody just sent me something yesterday, and it's like people that I used to respect in our field, in our space, like talking about parasites, like a sports performance doctor. I'm like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I said to this dietitian, I'm like, I thought she was so good. And then I was like, then she said,
Lord
50% of people all have parasites. And I was like,
Fantastic.
Jesus.
yeah, but that's what I mean. So I think you still have,
Ugh.
I think if you're good at what you do, insurance just makes it easier.
Hmm.
And that's how I've always looked at it because it's like I am very fearful when I have a ton of new dietitians into my space, you know what I mean? Because they're not good at what they do yet. You know what I mean? Insurance
Yes.
can help,
Yes, they're
but it
moldable,
doesn't replace the
coachable.
reps, right? It doesn't
Hmm.
replace the reps that we all have on this call because we sucked before I
Man,
sucked for a very long time
Period.
before I was
I
good,
sure did as well.
you
So
know?
bad. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's like,
And
I
I
think we have to
love that.
recognize that piece.
I
Hmm.
love too that you spoke on like 10 years, that longevity, that commitment.
Oh,
Because I feel like this day and age, and I think, and maybe you can speak to this as to what you've seen, but especially with
yeah.
being on social media and all the different things that a lot of dietitians look at and they think, oh, this is success, this equals success.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
see the highlight reels, like it takes work, it takes that commitment and willing to go through all the ugly
Oh, yeah.
stuff. So what
Hmm.
would you say are, with that being said, some of the top mistakes you see dietitians make when like diving into insurance?
Yeah, I think I'll be honest with you. It's like I think people like are always looking for like the tactile things. I think it's all about mindset because
Mm-hmm.
I love that saying like you think you can or you think you can't, like you're right either way. And I think that
Hmm.
like whether or not I knew it at the time in 2007, like I always felt based on my training that I had been through to become a dietitian, to go through grad school. I really came out of my internship like feeling somewhat invincible from a clinical standpoint, right? I felt like very well educated. Like
Yeah.
my internship nearly broke me, but I felt that it took as much as like it gave me more than it took, right?
Same.
You know,
Yeah.
in a good
Mhm.
internship. And so I think I had that mindset that, you know, that I was going to figure it out like no matter what. And so like I think anything for most dietitians and health practitioners, anything on a long enough time horizon will make money. You know what I mean? And I
That's
think
real.
that the mindset that I had was that you know, it's like I always had like 8 jobs, you know what I mean? It was very rare, you know what I mean? Like because it's like I had a certain
Same.
lifestyle that I wanted to live and I wasn't willing to compromise that, but it's like you know what I mean? So I think it's all about mindset and that's why I spend a lot of time trying to temper people's expectations. And what I realized in the last couple of weeks even on social media is that, you know, as a business coach, as somebody who's doing the thing that I'm teaching, you know, I've always tried to pride myself on like showing the good, bad, and ugly. But what I realized last
Yeah.
week, I was like in this season of like firing people and like recalibrating and like really bringing down the business to the studs and rebuilding it was that when you are in those weeds, you're not on social media. So I had to take a
Right.
Facts.
say, okay, go back on there and tell everybody about like your, you know, your crappy day and like what it looked like and why. And it's my responsibility. And so I think if people could also like I heard this saying a long time ago and I say it to myself all the time and probably 5 times a day. It's like a lot of things as a business owner, as an entrepreneur are not your fault, but they are your problem. Right?
Mm.
So like, you know, I
Come
think
on,
like
T.
why it's about the mindset is that it's so easy to blame everybody else for the things that you do not have or for the state of your practice or the
So
lack of
good.
but it's really your responsibility to make sure, you know. So it's like if somebody does something wrong in my practice, it's not my fault, but it becomes my problem. You know,
Bingo.
and if I'm hiring somebody on my team and I know I need them to be local and they're saying to me, I see their address and they're like, no, 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 like I'm going to come in. And I'm like, yeah, like I know how this is going to play out. Like you're going to come in for like 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Then it becomes my problem, right? And
Right.
so yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see is like the, you know, the adaptable mindset and like, you know, being able to, you know, being able to tolerate, you know, pain because that's where we grow, right? It's like
Hmm.
you never like jump on stage for like a figure show, like not training for it. You know what I mean?
Come on.
Yeah.
Now
And I
some
tell
people
people,
do.
yeah,
I mean, you know, times
yeah,
have
you know,
changed.
but right, like I tell
Do
people all the
you?
time. Yeah, I tell people all the time is like I used to work with, you know, bodybuilding and figure competition, you know,
Same.
who would take the whole year off to bring up their right bicep, right? Because there's like
Exactly.
last lack of symmetry, right? And it's like people don't understand that piece. It's like, you know, it's like
Oh gosh, I
you
love
know what
it.
I'm saying? Like it's a real thing. It's like the judge said, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's just like that concept. And I think like we need more business owners just talking about the hard stuff and like
So
showing
Mm.
good.
I think so many business owners are afraid to show the hard because then they think like nobody's going to want to work with them because their business,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? But I think it's actually the opposite is like it's just like they can relate to that.
Yeah,
And they're also
relatable.
running, you know, they're running their business. It's like we all know that's not
Yes, girl.
fun. Yeah.
You know, and yeah, that's definitely something that even I found myself caught up in. I mean, for me, like I'm about to go on maternity leave. You know, I got all these things. Like, I can't worry about social media right now. I don't have time for that. You know, so
Yeah.
I completely get it. And something you mentioned was like that hiring piece. So for those that maybe are starting out and maybe they've gotten to the point where they're like, okay, I'm ready to kind of expand. If you were to go back, who might you hire first? Like what kind of assistance might you
Oh, I
pull in
totally
first?
like I would say like I've made so many like epic mistakes, but I would say single-handedly the hiring piece was the one that I did the worst at. See,
Mm.
like that was the one that I was least qualified to do. 2009 when I started hiring. And like I don't think I really even got good at that until 2023 because in order to get better at a skill, you have to be self-aware that you suck, right? And so
Ooh, say
you
that
know what I
again,
mean?
Effie.
Like, so
Come
it's
Please,
on, for the
like,
please
people in the
remind
yeah,
back.
like,
yourself.
For the people in the
yeah. And
back.
so, like, if we think we're awesome, or part of the problem as a business owner is like, nobody tells you that you suck, right? Or they don't tell you to your face, right? And
No.
so
Ever.
You know what I mean? It's like, or at least like, I think most people are afraid of me, so they probably wouldn't tell me that. Understood. But yeah, so that was the area that I messed up the most. And so, I really made it, in around that time frame, like I hired an attorney, I hired a human resources team, both extremely expensive, but
Mm,
but I always really struggled with the concept when people would say to me, I can't really afford to hire an attorney. And I was like, you can't really afford to hire then, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
that's good.
yeah, you know what I mean? And so when somebody says to me, so I created a whole hiring course for dietitians, and we had a whole separate, this is actually a funny story. And it's like, it's a legit course. It's like, I used an HR team to help me create it. It's like a soup to nuts hiring course for employees because I did not have it. And it's all dietitian specific. But January 1st of this year, like I said to my team, like, I still want to like continue to give my coaching clients the course. But what I am finding is like most people who are signing up for it externally are not ready for the responsibility. And so I
Mm,
like cut the whole Instagram because I found a really hard time promoting it like with rainbows
mm,
and unicorns because
right.
it is the hardest part of my life is my human resources aspect of my job of managing other people. And so if I were to go back and do it all again, I may or may not have ever decided to create a team. I think like a lot of times dietitians need to slow down to speed up. And like that was the one thing where I was
Mm,
like 85 jobs and I was like, sure, come work for me. Like dang, and so it's like it was such a flaming dumpster fire, you know what I mean? And so until I really recognized that I was the problem, right? Like I was my fault and I went pro. But yeah, so it's like I would say the first hire for most dietitians needs to be an executive assistant, but most
Mm.
dietitians have too much, they're too big of control freaks to release that, and they will say
Yep.
to me, well, I love doing the billing. Like I love doing billing too, but it's like it's not a good efficient use of my time, right? It's not
mhm,
high leverage. Like if I can go work with a big corporation and charge them $1,000 and like I have a biller doing the same work for 10 bucks an hour, you know what I mean? So I
right.
think most dietitians like, they hire too impulsively where they do not train their team, which I did, like disaster. Like I could name 10 disasters off the top of my head, which were my responsibility. And until I actually saw, like, this is actually the wake up call was for me, was like, I was the common denominator for like 13 years, something like that, right? I was like, oh, I don't like, they don't suck. Like, I suck. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
have a skill deficit as the head of human resources. Like, I need to go to like rehab. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
to go to a place, like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I do. I think I just did a free webinar on this week. It's on my YouTube channel and it's like, it's called Are You Really Ready to Hire? And we had like 100 plus people on the call.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't think most dietitians are really ready to hire. And I
That's
don't
good.
fault them for it because like I was not really ready. But
Yep.
yeah, so I outline like for free all the things people need to do. And then once they do that checklist, then maybe they're ready to hire. But I really struggled actually from an ethical standpoint, like promoting my how to hire program because like people will feel like I just felt like, no, dude, like I would get them like mid course. Oh man, like your practice is a train wreck. Like, how are you bringing people into this broken home? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. That
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. So it's like I think like, I have a response. I think we all have a responsibility to make sure that the people that we all service, whether in our insurance-based practice, like that, that we are serving them at the highest level that we can.
Mhm. Yeah.
Love that raw, real answer. And even in you saying that, having that like revelation not pretty recently, right? And
Yeah.
being able
Oh
to do
yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
self-assessment. And I think that
Yeah.
that's really important for everyone to hear is that like you never get to a point to where you know it all and you have it all
Mm.
figured out. There's always
Yeah.
room to grow. You have to have that mindset and willingness to grow and learn from, your own mistakes and being willing to make changes in order to
Yeah.
continue to grow and serve people.
And I think like the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Mhm.
I try to surround myself with people and invest in myself. you know what I mean? And though it is very expensive, you know what I mean? Like I want to go where other people are. And so I have to put myself in rooms where those people are because I am well aware, especially in some of the programs that I participate, like I'm like the smallest fish. And so in order to get better, you have to be surrounded by people that are better than you. And so that's why I'm
Mhm.
all for personally. It's like I've hired mentors that are $60,000, for 8 hours
Yeah.
of their time. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it's like you want it, like if you want out, it's like I'm whatever I am, 47, 48. I don't have, you know what I mean? It's like, it's like I gotta fast track this stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I need to hire people that have done the thing, done it better than me in order to get where I need to go. But
Yes.
Yep.
but yeah, it's important. But yeah, no, that was a fairly recent revelation that I sucked.
No, and it's crazy because nobody thinks you suck, just to let you know.
Right.
I
Okay.
did.
Right.
It's only
I
you.
did. I totally did. And now I think I'm actually really good at that piece. But, but it's hard, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's like you got to put in the reps. And it's like, yeah, your first like 10 hires are gonna suck. You know what I mean?
Man,
Seven
golly.
Good.
hires are
So
gonna be the
true.
worst, because you do not like firing is the hardest part. So
And the ones that you
Mhm.
think that are
so
going to be good. I remember you telling me this when I first decided to, you were like, don't necessarily think just because they seem amazing that they're going to
yeah,
be
yeah,
good.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you could not have
Gosh.
been more right. And
I
so it's
had
the
so
ones,
many thoughts
Spot
on your
on.
team in the beginning, you know what I mean? Because I think I had like, I had like lots of thoughts, and I know I let you know all my
you
thoughts.
kept it so real.
Because you were like, this is this. And I was like, yeah, but like, let me tell you like how I think this is gonna play out. Because like that's how it played out for me. You know what I
Love
mean?
that.
Yeah,
And
spoke from experience. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like
So
I
good.
trusted everybody, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then at the end, like I was the one like holding the string, you know what I mean?
Man,
Like, but I think it's really hard for anybody, and I'm sure you guys relate to this. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right?
you
And it's
don't.
like,
Exactly.
You got to
and it's
trust to
like,
try.
yeah, but it's what you don't know is like the thing that's going to hold you back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What tools, if any, do you or services do you recommend to like stay organized and avoid burnout? Like
Yeah,
anything
I
that
think
you that's worked for you?
yeah, I think like that's, I think it's very interesting. Like, and I'm sure you guys have like we all have a different perspective on burnout. And I think that like, yeah, I don't know if I've ever really experienced burnout because for me personally, like I've signed up for everything that I've done. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, like, nobody really held me against my will. And so it's like if I ever felt burnt out, it was because it was self-imposed, right? It was my
Mm.
my inability to make boundaries for myself and on some level like self-respect, right? You know what I mean? And so
It's good.
I am very vigilant, like with time blocking, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I like,
Yes.
I'm not even lying. Like I still use like a planner. Like I use
Yes.
a normal Target planner, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like how I run my multi-million dollar business is like use
Love that.
a Target, weekly, monthly planner. And so I think we use Asana, to manage the team, but I use Asana more so just to like for reminders because I feel like with my team, I want to set my team up to win. And I feel like if I've done like I feel like when people don't do what you expected, it could be like they're just incompetent, which is also totally normal. Or it could be like, can we rig the environment? So, yeah, so things like Asana where there's reminders, like when I onboard people, like we use things like that. But, it's like I am very well aware of the tools that are available. I just find that sometimes they like complicate things. And I've always been
Hmm.
like, simple scales, fancy fails, right? And so,
Mm.
I've taken like
Good.
classes
Come on,
on up.
T.
Yeah, I've taken classes on up click and Monday and you know what I mean? I just like feel like sometimes that like it's like, sometimes the basics are what. But yeah, I mean like in terms of scaling, like that's, we use Asana, to keep the team together and then we use WhatsApp. But like aside from and I think that's free, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Google Workspace. Like I just we are
Hmm.
just and it's not, it's like, yeah, it's like, I just think like there's no need to complicate things. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I
Love
run
that.
payroll and Gusto, so it's like, I guess those are all systems, but like, until 2020, like I would hand write people's like payroll checks. Like, like on Saturday, like I'd sit down with like the book and like the sheets and like I would write like checks for everybody and leave them in their mailbox at my, you know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, when people tell me like, they're like, I don't even know what a checkbook is. I was like, wow, like I get it.
no.
Yeah, I
What?
get it. I get it. But like, you if you're gonna apply to Medicare, like you need a blank check and it's like gotta be a real check. But anyway, but yeah, so it's like I don't use any fancy systems. Like there's no like I've never had like anything that I started using that I was like, oh, but yeah, basic like Google Workspace, like, but
I
Yeah.
love that.
yeah.
Yeah. And a good
We're
old
basic, we're pretty
notebook.
raw. Like
Oh,
that's what I mean is like
so good.
I'm more about like, it's like profitability, like, you know what I mean? It's like, because it's like, it's not about how much money I make, it's about how much money I keep in my pocket.
Hey, that
Mm-hmm.
part. How much money do you
Period.
keep?
Yeah, it's like, I
Okay.
don't like, it's like, so it's like, but like I meet, like I cannot tell you, part of my job is I do a lot of work with group practice owners and I like I look at the systems that they're using. And I cannot tell you how many people with like not super high top line they have like three assistants. I have one assistant that runs my whole practice and then runs the whole credentialing side because when I did a time audit I was like, dude's not super like, we're not a fish, like we've still got like there's more juice left in the lemon, you know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of bloat. And so when I look at people, I'm like, help me understand this. Like, you know what I mean?
Three assistants.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like for
Yes.
us, we run weekly metrics. Like we're looking at, it's like we look at all, we look at metrics for the practice. We look at metrics for social media, like what's working, what's not working, what do people like, what are people engaging with? Because a lot of times, like the things that I want to make content on are not the things that people actually care about. You know what I mean?
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a lot of dietitians, especially in the sports performance space, like they create content just to create content. And so then I always, because I only follow really dietitians and like travel stuff and like fashion, like I spend a lot of time watching dietitians and I'm always like if you were an athlete, like would you find that information helpful? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, yeah, we want to talk about like 90 minutes post exercise, like you need this amount, you need 30, but the reality is like that's so far removed from what actual like people need, right? It's like,
Right.
it's like they probably need to eat less, move more. So like that post recovery meal, like, you know what I mean? Like we don't need to give them some surge with like 80 grams of carb. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of dietitians like they make content and then they like, but they don't really make content that people like that's helpful, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right. And
like here's
keep up
like
with
the
the
vitamin D,
changes.
the vitamin D content of food. Nobody cares. Like nobody's gonna drink like cod liver oil. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh, that
your
brings back bad
infographic
memories.
sucks. Like it
Ugh.
sucks. And it took you like 4 hours to make. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I feel for you, but it's like that's why I always say like any problem in your business can be solved by talking to your clients, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
every single problem, like your marketing, you got a marketing issue, like ask your current clients, even if you just have one athlete or one person you're working with, like what do they care about? You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
all of my content is based on like my husband, people will see
Clients want.
my husband will say, like, how can you go on social media every day? I'm like, dude, like I have like 35 pages if I ever run out of like if something is not happening that day that I want to talk about. Like there's just
Right.
so it's like I think like for most people, like they have to drill down on what's actually, and I also don't think what most sports performance dietitians are missing is that many of them are living the thing. And so it's like just showing what they eat. I know it sounds so silly. And I know it's controversial because of like eating disorders and da 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 da. I love to see what people eat in a day because I am like
Mm-hmm.
I am the world's worst dietitian. Like I eat like 50 grams of protein for the whole week. You know what I mean? And so it's like
Not the week.
I love
Oh,
to see.
the
Yeah, I'm
week.
awful. I'm awful. Like I tried with the cremini thing. I just can't do it. You know, what I mean? Like I eat more carb. Like I don't even understand I have a pancreas. But I love that because I feel like that's relatable, right? Because when we say for
Exactly.
our clients, we want you to eat like, 150 grams of protein. What does that really look like? Like I
Right.
love watching.
Exactly.
I become obsessed. I love watching. Like Uma, you do a really good job. Like you film yourself doing the thing. It's like you're
Mhm.
already doing it. It's helpful. It's like you're really living it. It's not like, it's like not like you're racing after to get like your post-workout shake because God forbid
Never.
you know what I mean? Like,
Often I'm like, oh wait, I forgot about that. But
yeah, but that's what I mean. So it's like,
yeah,
yeah, I think we've kind of gotten away from, you know what I mean? Like we
realness
yeah, like,
Yes.
we're too much Nancy Clark, like textbook, like, and not enough. Like, I love Nancy
and
Clark.
respect.
Yeah, I love her. Amazing.
Mhm.
But, like most of our clients are not textbook, right? So, yeah.
Straight up. I
Yeah.
love that. I love
So
that.
good. I feel like so much of what you said too, like you mentioned, like, well, Uma, you said realness and, showing up in the most like authentic way possible, but also like, as you're building out all this stuff, being real with yourself, being real about your capabilities and
Of
what you can
course.
actually do and what you're good at, what you suck at, what you need some help
Yeah.
with, cause like if we're being real for real, like you said, you're not going to be great at everything. There's going to be things
No.
that you completely suck at, and that's okay as long as you understand that.
That's why I always
Yeah.
laugh when you go on somebody's website because people are always like, "Can you look at my website?" And they're like, like I specialize in like functional nutrition. I also do
Yeah.
oncology. I'm a sports dietitian, and then I'm like really good with like I do type 1. Like, and I'm like, no, I get
Pick
it.
one.
You service all those people. I get it, and I think that
Yeah.
should be there. But like, don't use the word that you specialize in those because I think that's misleading. Like,
Exactly.
you can
So
service all
misleading.
those. Like, it's cool to be.
Yes.
I love being a jack of all trades. I think that there's a space to that. Like, I don't think it even in an insurance based practice you have to niche down. We certainly didn't. We did in the beginning, but like it's also just funny. I was like, oh, okay. Like I just think that we feel inadequate. Like we feel
Yes.
inferior if we do not specialize in something. But the reality is like some people like they're not looking for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
No.
Yeah,
Love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, gosh, you have shared so much amazing information with us, with all of the listeners. We cannot wait for all the feedback that we're going to get. I mean,
Hmm.
let's talk about like what's going on in your world, Amy, because as long as I've known you, I've just been completely like geeked out and just like, like, how does she do it all? How do you do all the things? You just told us about all the amazing places you're going in 3 months. Like, basically, you're
yeah,
just going to
Oh,
make a tour around the globe.
come
yeah,
on.
Tell us what's happening with your program right now. Like, do you have any
yeah.
dates or
I
new
think yeah.
features?
I also think it's important to premise, and I never try to like skate. Like I don't have kids, right? I don't have kids. I have a husband that loves the fact that I make money that could just lock me in here all day. And so like the things that are external for most people, like I don't have that. I don't even have a dog. You know what I mean? Like we may get a dog after we get back from Asia, but like I don't even have like I have zero responsibilities. So I have to be very clear because sometimes people will say to me, like, you do it all. I was like, yeah, but I don't have like any. And like my husband gets a meal delivery service. So I love to cook, but it's not like even I have zero responsibilities aside from my responsibilities to my business. And so that allows a very different level of
Yeah.
Sure.
and yes, I do work a lot. But it's like I don't know what else I would do if I didn't. So it's like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? So it's like I have very different my life is very different. And I also like even from a travel perspective, I try to tell people like I don't have kids that I have to put into college at, because
Right.
you know what I mean? Like my financial responsibilities are very different. And I also live below my means. Like I don't live like
Mm.
live on like a third of our income and like, we invest the rest. And so like I think it's very
It's
important for
great.
people to understand that, you know what I mean? Is that like I am not chasing the same things, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like I am, yeah. So it's like my situation is very different. And so it's important that people understand that because yeah, and I work from home and it's like, I have a gym here. It's like anyway, my life is very different, it doesn't mean that I don't work hard, but yeah, I mean, I think right now, I think, the program is going really well. I mean, we run the group coaching program. We usually get about 100 to 110 dietitians in that every year. I really want to kind of make it probably more of a 12-month program because
Mm.
I think the reality of just running your business, we have a membership where dietitians go into that after that, and we have about 200 dietitians in that, but I feel like in the beginning, it's kind of like with a dog. Actually, no, as we're thinking about getting a dog, it's like that first year is so pivotal, right? Even with a
Yes.
child, right? It's like, and
Ooh.
it's like I feel
Talk
like
about it.
you know what I mean? It's so hands-on. And so I think like what we will change the program into a 12-month. I know dietitians won't love that because financially the cost will increase, but I think like the value will still be there. So
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, you know what I'm
the
saying?
value
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I love it. So we just have really good clients. I think that I never take that for granted. So coaching program is good. In April of this year, we launched like done for you credentialing services because what we were learning, it was not on my bingo board for 2025. Like, and this is just an example of like you have to, you cannot let perfection just stop you from doing stuff. But what I was finding was I was meeting a lot of dietitians, and I say this from a place of love, they just weren't capable of going through the coaching program. And I didn't want to sell them. I felt like a really bad human if I sold somebody who was like inept on some level into a coaching program and took their
Yeah.
money. I couldn't do that. And so for
Yep.
those types of clients, we decided that, we would do done for you services, where right now we're actually just doing credentialing. But we've probably done about like $40,000 even just in the first couple, like, even since then. So it's really
Wow.
taken off.
Wow.
But remember, those people still need, so right now I'm always trying to figure out like the next solution, but
Yeah.
I will not do billing for dietitians. Like it's not a high leverage opportunity. So yeah, so we're doing a
Mm.
bunch of different things, you know what I mean? And then I just I just decided in my practice, I really just want full-time dietitians. So we just
Mm.
we just had to get rid of a whole bunch of dietitians, bring everything down to the studs,
Yeah.
redo all of the compensation plans. And so,
Mm.
yeah, I think just like everybody else, it's just a work in progress. You know what I mean? And
Love that.
sometimes you have to like smash it in order to go forward. And that's really hard as business owners. Cause like a lot of these people have worked for me since like 2016. And it's not to say that I didn't offer them full time. It's just not in the cards for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think just
Wow.
like working on like getting better, you know what I mean? Getting
Love
better,
that.
making the program better, making my practice better, like making you guys better. Yeah. And then also showing the ugly side. That's really one of my goals is just like, to show like
Transparency.
the unsexy, like, which is like the
Mhm.
majority of my day, which is unsexy. Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. And you kind of hit on who your services are obviously suitable for, but is there anything else that you would like to be able to share for the listeners? Like anybody in particular, maybe even beyond dietitians, or you
Yeah.
exclusively working with dietitians?
Shocking. So we do dietitians, we do CNSs in states where they can be licensed. And then also I do a decent amount of work with like physicians. So it's like
Nice.
Ooh.
you know what I mean? So physicians will like hire me on retainer. So like, they will pay like my hourly retainer, which is like $800 to $1,000 an hour. And then rather than
Yes.
calls, they're just like send me random emails and I'll be like, okay, fix this, do that. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's been shockingly like, yeah, that's been a shocking piece that's really taken off too as well, because those sorts of things, like I feel like then I can also consult with the doctors like on how are they are running the dietitians. And so,
Ooh,
you know what I
So
mean? And
that's
good.
so,
powerful.
yeah. And so it's like, they're like, oh, I'm paying them this and it's fairly lucrative. I'm like, no, 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 that's not lucrative. Like, this is how we pay. Like, here's literally like, I share with them like our compensation package because I think there is a disc. So I think it just, that then allows me, it doesn't handicap our field by like strong arming the physicians. It allows me to have a dialogue with them with how this should look because
I love that.
as much as we think that people want to screw us, I just don't think they know any better. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
Right?
So, yeah. So
Period.
it's just like constantly trying to do some different stuff. And yeah, but I mostly work with dietitians. And I'm very happy doing that.
Love it.
Being like, I have no,
Field loves you.
I have no intention of like working with physical therapists or anybody in that space as well. Like I just, yeah, I love my people. Like I feel very at home.
Yeah, well, you definitely have impacted so many people. With that being said, because we know there's going to be so many people that are like, I've got to talk to this lady. She's my person. Where can people go to connect with you
Yeah.
and get the ball rolling with your program?
Yeah, for sure. I would say first, like even before you get the ball rolling, just like come and like figure out if you like me. Like
Yeah, follow you, learn more about you.
Like go follow me on Instagram. Most people will say to me that they have followed me for like 2 to 3 years before they even purchase my program. And I think that's like very admirable. Like I am not for everybody. But I am on Instagram every day, all day. Reimbursement _dietitian. And then we also have a free YouTube channel by the same name, Amy Plano, the Reimbursement Dietitian. In every single week, we just release like a new video on like a topic that you guys are struggling with that we saw. And then we also have a ton of free resources on reimbursementdietitian.com. So we have everything from like how to start your business to the first steps for setting up an insurance-based practice to like just random, information, free stuff, free super bills. Yeah, we spend about 98% of our time producing new content that's free. We
Wow.
spend 2% on the paid stuff. So we really want to increase accurate information that's accessible for all dietitians. It's not like there's no gatekeeping, you know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
like we want
Yeah.
people to like get into this and like feel supported, even if you never pay me $1. You know what I mean? Like I want
Yes.
to be able to support you, and yes, don't get me wrong. Yes, I want to make money and that's important to me. So, but I can do it at a way where everybody wins. So it's like I'm
Love
not,
that.
yes, I am altruistic, but yes, money as a female is important to me. So it's just like to make sure that like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Oh,
they're
no,
all
that's right.
that, I mean, that's
Oh.
like, yeah, that's important. It should be important to all of us on some level. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, I hope y'all caught all of that tea. I mean,
So much
so
tea.
many gems in this episode. And honestly, like the advice that you gave us, that's the type of stuff that people really do gatekeep sometimes or keep behind a paywall. So we appreciate you
It's
coming in, sharing
hilarious.
your
This is
knowledge. Look,
hilarious.
because I know we'll hear some people say, "Oh well, I don't want to pay this." And she just laid out all of the resources that she has. So y'all, hopefully, as you're listening, you've been jotting this stuff down. You go check out Amy, because honestly, I think that's what really makes you a force in the field and the impact that
Yeah.
you've had. So for those of you that are listening, whether you are insurance curious, whether you're scaling your practice, trying to figure out who to hire, or if you suck at certain things, listen, this episode is for you because I know I took some notes in my head too. This
Right.
episode should help you make a few decisions. So if you aren't following Amy, make sure that you go check her out, learn about her coaching program, learn about all the resources she has developed to make accessible for you so you can be better as a clinician, so you can serve your clients, so you can serve the communities that you want to serve. So thank you so much, Amy, for
Yes,
joining us. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
of course,
Y'all,
guys. Thanks for having me.
yes, this
Yes,
is Hot Tea.
absolutely. Hot tea. And man, we just, again, just a second, what Bree said, you are amazing. Firsthand, y'all, I can say.
Mhm.
All right. Till next
Thank you
time.
guys. Cheers. And I'll see you guys soon.
Cheers.